Welcome, everyone, to the Lions Nation Unite postgame show. I'm Spencer. We got Chrissie, Herman, and Easy in here as well. Lions coming off of just a dominating win in Dallas over the Cowboys. Not going to lie, not going to say we didn't all see this coming because we kind of did, but obviously it'd be hard not to mention this right off the bat. The biggest news, even with such a fantastic victory, is Aiden Hutchinson suffering a tibia break in his leg, immediately a rush to the hospital, immediately put in surgery for that, more than likely ending his season. And it's just tough. 2 sacks on the day, was looking like the best defensive player in the NFL through the first couple weeks, and you just hate to see that. Prayers up for Aiden Hutchinson. Hopefully a speedy recovery for him, and hopefully he'll be good to go next season.
Absolutely.
But other than that, the Detroit Lions went into Dallas and absolutely took the lunch money from the Cowboys. Herman, what were your initial reactions to this victory for the Detroit Lions?
You know what? I didn't know. I was thinking, were they going? Is the whole Dallas team on injured reserve? Are they on IR too? I mean, it's like, what's going on here? Because they were getting handed, and if they kept, it was almost like, how they showed Taylor Swift all the time, and they would show him at Kansas City. They kept going to Jerry Jones and showing him, and you almost felt bad because it was like it was a passive aggressive move by like the camera people say, listen, do you see what's happening? Is there something you're going to do about this? Because this can't continue. This was we talked about this earlier this week on Lions Nation Unite, and we talked about that the Detroit Lions were going to come in hot. They were going to come in, and we talked about it. He said, what's your predicted score? I said, they're going to beat them by at least 20 points, because beyond this, and Spence, we talked about this, beyond the passing game, which the Dallas Cowboys, they came in 10th ranked offense in the NFL. They were having some hard time in the red zone. They had some problems with turnovers. But they were limited, and they were very predictable offense. If you shut down CeeDee Lamb, if you make Dak Prescott have to hold on to the to create some issues, and it just seemed like it was a mess. And I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that, but the Lions went in and absolutely put the beat down on them, and it was a pretty good game. I mean, go Lions, let's go Lions. When you can hear that on the broadcast, there's something going wrong in Dallas.
On Jerry Jones' birthday too. It was his 82nd
Jerry's
birthday.
That's rough.
That was rough.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
Well, it's either there were that many Lions fans there, or like that many Dallas fans had just completely they were good. They left.
Yeah, it was a party in Dallas. It was a party at the stadium, and it was one of the most. I mean, they just shouldn't have did the boys like that. I don't know. It's almost like I'm jealous because we've played these guys. I played these guys, and I've never lost to the Cowboys, but never put a hurting on them like that at all. I mean, it almost seemed personal.
I feel like it was. You saw the plays. I called it the 3 flicker, where it went from Goff to David Montgomery to Amon-Ra St. Brown back to Goff, and then he hits Hawkinson for the touchdown. They had the trick play where David Montgomery threw it, or Amon-Ra St. Brown threw it back to Penei Sewell, and he was coming to try to score a touchdown. It felt personal. It really did.
On that play, Herman was a little nervous on that play. He wasn't looking for anybody to get.
I got to address that. I have to address that. One, thank everyone who's joining in and coming in on our show here and listening to what we have to say. But I did not agree with throwing the ball to Penei. So I know it was a Brown, but if you look closely at that tackle, that could have very easily resulted and ended in an injury to your offensive line. You're all pro. You're up too much to have to go through doing things like that. This isn't it's a game, but it's not a game, as you know what I'm saying. So it made me go, listen, okay, I get it. We're having fun in game, but when guys get loose and players start to play a little loose and they let down their guard a little bit, and then you're throwing passes to those who aren't used to handling the football, you can open up and turn something that is all, you know, fun and happy and a great environment into something that turns out to be disastrous. So I'm definitely going to go against that. It looked cool, but I haven't done that at all.
Yeah, I got a little nervous too, just because everything you said. And plus, when there's a big guy like that, you know how they're gonna try to tackle him. They're going at those knees, and Panay needs those knees. You know what I'm saying? He's carrying a whole lot of body, but just you ever see that Sharkeisha video? He's like, Keisha, no. That's what this Detroit Lions game felt like, man.
You know, and then you keep throwing them to different linemen. You know what I mean? It's like I'm like,
yes.
Herman, can you hear us? Your internet is struggling. He's frozen.
I can't frozen.
Yeah,
at least he's not making.
Herm, your internet's struggling, Herm.
He's back.
I don't know, but no, that's not me. Everyone froze.
It's you.
For a minute.
It's you. I promise. All of us are good, and then you're froze. Yeah.
Sharkeisha, no.
We'll get deal.
Sharkeisha, no.
Which is sad because I want to ask you some questions because I want you to talk about either side of the ball because I know you get more and more excited about the development of the offensive players, and you especially, I think, have a lot to say about J-Mo because you were talking about him today and just what he's been doing and developing and all of that.
Well, I want to steal any of the airtime from all the team here, but you know, let's go around the horn here. Let's talk about J-Mo. Let's talk about his development. We've looked at him over the years. We've looked at where this young man has started, and there were so many concerns. You know, you look at when he was, you know, from the day they drafted him, he's an injured player. You're picking him with the first round pick. Then after that, you know, there was a whole piece about, making bets and placing, doing all this stuff inside of a restricted, you know, protocol within the NFL. Then you go from there and he's dropping passes. I mean, it was like a tragedy that was happening. And then all of a sudden now he is your home run threat. He is the one that becomes one of the most, in the passing attack, most feared in terms of big play capability for the Lions. That's there. You know, yeah, he had the drop, but then they came right back to him very next play. That's confidence in Ben Johnson. That's confidence in the coaches saying, you know what, we're coming right back to you. And he makes plays. And then from then on, he continued to make plays. And then you couple that with the professionalism that we're seeing with St. Brown. I mean, I'm gonna step there for a second because he's kind of disappeared a little bit in the offense. I'm sure he's frustrated, but he's not letting it go. That's the character of this young man. That's the character of him saying, you know what? It's bigger than me, the individual. It's bigger than the fact that you gave me a big contract. I'm out here to win football games and do my part whenever they throw him the ball. He can't make plays without passes being thrown his way. But it's that kind of team that we're seeing with the Lions. That's why I'm excited. That's why I look here and I'm envious. I'm jealous because as a former player, we've had similar type of coaches and coaching styles and environment, but not the complete package that we're seeing with the Lions. So kudos to everything that's happening with this Lions organization right now.
And with the Jameson Williams thing, I think the biggest thing for me, especially in this game, was like Herman said, how many people have his back, how bought in this offense is to each other, is when he had that drop in the middle of the field on a play that looked like it could have been a big play. He had some open space in front of him, and he just dropped the ball. They go right back to him the next play, same exact play, hit him in the chest. He catches it. He makes the play. Everybody's hyping him up. You don't let that knock you down because that was really his first big drop this year. He had been pretty sure-handed, and they went right back to him, same exact play, same exact spot, and he made the catch. So that was huge, I think, for him, for his confidence, and for the offense.
Yeah, I appreciate that one too. Like I'm happy they went right back to him because I just remember listening to his interviews when he's kind of talking about the difference between like himself this year and years past is that every single route he's in there giving it his all. Even if you know he's not getting the ball, he's trying to sell his side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? So keep him in spirits by giving him that second chance. No, he messed up just that one time, and he's still going to give you his all in every single route. And I know, obviously, you don't want to expect him to do that either way, but, like, it helps that he has confidence he's going to see the ball again. You know, it is not just going to be out there running routes, doing cardio all day. And, I love that out of JG or Ben Johnson, whoever's decision that was to go with that one. And then he returned the favor, too. A big time touchdown later on in the game, I believe, against Trayvon Diggs as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So everyone wants to talk about an edge rusher. So heading back over to the defensive side, what do you guys think as far as going out and getting somebody else? I know we were already talking about that with previous injuries.
I didn't want to say this name because they say he wanted to be ready for life or whatnot, but Max Crosby, I don't know if you guys saw, gave his defensive line coach a little shove coming off the field. So things don't look so happy in Vegas, and what's in Vegas stays in Vegas. He might be leaving, and hopefully he's coming back home in Michigan.
Max Crosby's one. Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. I think that's a more realistic option. Obviously, Max Crosby would be the top prize. He's a top 3 edge rusher in the NFL. I think Trey Hendrickson, you look at him, he's a guy who's had 17.5 sacks in a season. He's a guy who's played next to DJ Reader before. And, yeah, Gary Baker says he tweeted that was a love push. He did say, yeah, that he loves his defensive line coach.
What do you want to say?
It was a push of love. But Trey Hendrickson, I think, is a guy that could be a realistic possibility, especially if the Bengals lose again here tonight. That is a guy who is, I don't want to say up there with Hutchinson and Crosby, but I would say he's the tier right below them, and he would be the best edge rusher on this team by far with Hutchinson out if you go out and grab Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals.
When I think about players that they can go after, you're going to be looking at teams that have key players that are along the lines. You're going to have to go also, if you're Brad Holmes and you're looking at where do you make deals, where do you make moves, because you're gonna have to give up something to get a marquee type player, or at least get someone that's disgruntled or is not being used effectively in their system. And there's a few players, as you guys have mentioned, a few that are already out there like that. But chemistry, I don't think it's going to be the big key here based on the way this defense is playing. It's about finding playmakers. Defensively, they seem to play a little bit more loose than you find with the offensive side, where there has to be this communication piece that the guys have to have a little bit more chemistry and all these other things for timing and all those things. But they're looking for dogs, man. They're looking for straight up pass rushers. They're looking for mean people. They're looking for those that can go in and disrupt and basically fill an area, because you look at how solid this secondary. I'm going to tell you, I have to be very honest. I'm going to be dead serious. I was very concerned about the secondary coming into the season, being that, okay, yeah, you have a couple guys. You got one guy that's coming back from injury. You have another one that, that is top tier. Then you got a couple rookies that you're going to be putting out there and trying to plug in a couple guys you lost at the cornerback position. That was a struggle the previous season. And then all of a sudden now, those guys are buying you time on the perimeter at the corner. And then your pass rush now is being able to buy time because those guys are solid. So now it's kind of the reverse. They're buying time for you to have time and patience with the pass rush and developing the interior line. So I see this team, the weaknesses, they're plugging those holes up, man, big time. And they're playing so good as a unit. They're playing so good with scheme and philosophy. And it's not just because, and I gotta be careful. Dallas Cowboys team is not the barometer. That's not, we shouldn't let that be the testing piece of how good this defense is or isn't, because I think they just beat the heck out of a team that just is falling apart offensively. So I think, you go around and you look at some of these other offenses that have multiple guys, and even Tampa gave them a test and a taste of that. There are some challenges that they're going to have, but I do think this was a great confidence game coming out of the bye. But where do you go with a big loss in Hutchinson? And you have to figure out, how do you find replacement? And right now you're going to have to just, plug up those holes wherever you can with what you have.
Don't look now, but the Detroit Lions have the best safety tandem in the NFL with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. It's somebody on this panel, handsome guy, might be wearing a 58 jersey, said Kirby Joseph would lead the NFL in interceptions this year. He is tied for the lead in the NFL in interceptions so far. And Brian Branch, 3 forced turnovers today, 2 interceptions and the forced fumble. Those guys are just heat-seeking missiles coming down from their safety spots, and they get to the ball and they make plays. It's so much fun to watch them in open space.
Herman, after last season, you talked about how the team was going to have to regroup and get a chemistry again and see what that chemistry was going to look like. Are you starting to get a feel of the chemistry that this team is developing as this 2024-25 team?
I see that. And I do believe that the chemistry is there. It's taken some time, but it isn't the same team every year. We talked about this, Spence, Easy. We talked about this. The team continues to evolve. It continues to change. And because of that, how do you manage that? The coaches are managing change. The players and the leadership within the organization is managing change. And then the players themselves are developing leadership, both on the field and those that are on the sideline. There's a preparation that has to happen with players before you get into the game, because you can't have a drop off. When one guy comes out, you see those guys, they tap their chest, they tap their helmet, they want to come out of the game. The next person coming in can't be a liability. They have to be picking up the pieces. You can't play, okay, we got to protect the fact that this guy's taking a little bit of a breather. And I think they've come to a place of confidence. The players are playing with confidence. The coaches are playing with a series of trust. Aaron Glenn, you look at it, everyone's beating them up. Hey, you guys have all these holding penalties. I'll be honest, you get 2 real quick penalties holding against the tight end. You get both linebackers are called on flags in the first quarter, and I'm going, man, we got to figure out these penalties. But that's an aggressive defense, and that's how they play. And so they've started to figure out their identities on both sides. They're owning those, and they're taking responsibility and accountability with them. And, both coordinators, including the head coach, are not having to pull back and worry about the mindset of these players. And I know, Easy, you had a couple things you wanted to say. So, that's my take in terms of how this team is really gelled and come together in such a, really in NFL times and building dynasties or building teams in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, speaking of just gelling and whatnot too, like I know last time we had Lomas on with us as well, we spoke about how the defensive line coach, Williams, got these guys going. And I think you look at, and obviously we'll miss Hutch because he was an absolute disruptor, and you had a game plan for him. You had to put at least 2 people on him at one time, but we still got 2 sacks after Hutch left the game. So I think just the chemistry and gel philosophy, like everything you said, they still executed. And don't look now, but I'm pretty sure Terrion, this might have been his first game without having some laundry thrown out there on the field. Maybe outside of myself in celebration, but like I don't think the refs threw anything. I think he was they had a clean game today. If I'm not mistaken.
They're gonna pop bottles for him today. That's what it is.
Yeah.
What laundry are you throwing?
I don't know if appropriate for stream. I don't know if this is like
okay, just making sure.
Let me ask you guys this. So there's something I wanted to bring up, because there was an area of concern. Like we can sit here, we love to talk about the wins, we love talking about all the things that went great. Now I'm gonna back up just a little bit. My concern really starts to get elevated when I see that the rush doesn't get there. And yes, I have a concern with any defensive secondary that has to really chase receivers around. CeeDee Lamb, right? He's visibly frustrated. He's visibly having some chemistry issues with Dak. So you don't have a combination that's even on the same, emotional, mental, professional, game plan. They're not together. And if you find those that have multiple weapons and the rush doesn't get there, and I see that this team does have a problem with speed. They have a problem with chasing guys and still in man coverage. Now, I'm watching it a little bit closer than a few others. They have a problem chasing guys around in man. So when they have to go into man coverage, if teams can get the Lions secondary in man coverage, I don't think we see the exact same Detroit Lions secondary coverage that can kind of, they're doing the exact opposite. They're teeing off. They're sitting back. The rush is getting there, and they're waiting for the errant passes. They're waiting for guys to have missed routes. You got players on Dallas. They're just plug and playing anybody. Hey, man, raise your hand if you want to go in and play wide receiver. Right. And that's what they're doing. That's what they were doing. And so there was no real threat in the secondary other than you had to be disciplined in coverage. When you start to play teams that got their stuff together, okay,
like the Minnesota Vikings,
right? It's just not. Don't expect what we saw today to be something that the Lions will become. That's repeatable game in and game out against any team. That's not going to happen.
When you become a better team, though, aren't more teams than not the team that isn't going to have it all together? Or am I off base? Like, how many teams would you say like really just have it all together in that regard?
I was watching. Let me ask you this: did you guys watch? Anyone of you watch like the Washington-Baltimore game? All right, so you're
That's a good
watching two premier dual threat running and throwing quarterback guys that extend pockets. I mean, pressure was there, and they still couldn't bring them down. They escape the pocket. They get outside. They're making your defense tired because not only are they making the defense have to chase receivers around the secondary and the tight ends, they're making the linebackers and the linemen have to chase the quarterback from sideline to sideline, and then they have to come back and repeat it. And that guy has a different endurance level in the skill position than you have in your lineman position. And you can see how both quarterbacks were wearing down the pass rush, and then eventually they were hitting passes over the top. Your safety is going to get tired. They have to cover. If you're playing them deep third, then you're covering a much bigger space than when you have dual safeties in the back, right? And so there's all these factors that come into play. And when I looked at those two offenses, I said, problem. I say the Lions face either one of those offenses, problems and trouble. And so that's why you go, we're happy they went in and beat the crap out of Dallas, but at the same time I'm sitting there going, there are going to be some issues as you get further and further down the line. But we'll take these victories. We're never going to bash on that, because when you go in and you kick that butt like they did, there's a lot of things that you win when that happens.
Even just next week, you're going into Minnesota, and that's a team that is gelling more than almost anybody in the NFL right now, with Sam Darnold at quarterback. Kevin O'Connell has proved that he is one of the best coaches in the league. You've got Justin Jefferson, you got Addison out there. You're going to need the pass rush to get home. And whether it's Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson or anybody else, they're not going to be here next week. So you're going to need these guys to get home. And those are the Agoods, the Ukwus, these guys that were showing up in the preseason and showing up in spring, but didn't really get their chance yet. They're going to have a lot more opportunities now, and they're going to need to capitalize on those opportunities. We saw Ali McNeil get home a couple times in this game against Dak Prescott. We've seen Levi Onwuzurike get back there a couple times this season. These guys are going to have to step up more for sure, because when you go into Minnesota against a much better offensive line than what Dallas has, with a guy like Justin Jefferson and a guy who's playing the best ball of his career in Sam Darnold, you're going to have to get him on the ground or he's going to tear you apart.
Herman, I want you to say what's up to your Twitter following, because there's a ton of people there from your channel. So I think you should say what up to your people.
Okay. Hey, I want to say what's up, man. What up to everybody for coming in and chiming in and hanging out with us. You got H-Man in the heavyweights. You got my guys. You got CZ. You got my man Spence. You got my man Easy. So listen, we just here breaking bread. We're having fun, and I appreciate everybody that's coming over. Tell everyone about what we're doing here at Lions Nation Unite. Definitely check us out after the games, and check us out during the week, and all the channels that we have, which we'll make sure you have it. Send us your questions. Send us your comments. Go ahead and jump in. If you're in here right now, man, send us some questions and some comments, some things you want us to talk about, because I do want to mention one other thing that was a little bit of a concern. I won't say a concern, because again, we got to talk about the concerns. We're gonna keep riding high. We're gonna keep Snoop dogging it out right now, right? But we're gonna bring it down just a little bit. I'm gonna bring it to a calm level. The concerns I have is, now I was looking at coverage of our linebackers against tight ends or dropping back. They seem to be a little not as disciplined, because they haven't had to play, in my opinion, or be targeted in pass coverage. And so I'm going to keep watching and monitoring how are they dropping in their coverage, because they've been so downhill because of the pass rush. They've been skying and spying on the running back, so they didn't have to really drop back too deep in coverage and run down the deep third of the field or the middle of the field to take away that mid-level, the routes and things of that nature. Will they get handsy? Will they start to become a liability in coverage? And do you replace one of them and bring in another defensive back when you think there's going to be more passing that's going to happen? Or can you play that base defense? So that's something I was looking at today, and I hadn't seen a lot of before. But it's going to be a lot of things we got to look at.
Yeah, I know. Angelo had the one flag that was on him. I think that was on Kirby Joseph interception. I ended up getting called back. But I know later on in the game, he I mean, it wasn't going to be an interception. It was going to be a tough catch for him either way because his body was kind of twisted, and that's not what he does. But he almost had himself a little interception too. But yeah, I mean, that's something I'm kind of waiting for to see consistently out of our first round pick and Jack Campbell. Just because you go back and you watch his college highlights, that's what he did. You know, that's one of the things that made him a special prospect is, you know, being that 6'5" guy, able to be there in the middle. And obviously in his situation then was zone. Obviously AG asking these guys to do a lot more man, but I think I don't know how soon you want to expect those type of things out of him on a consistent basis, but I have some confidence if the entire defense is gelling together in their roles that he may be able to be that guy, but it's just going to be on a game-by-game basis, and I think that's the game plan almost, to shut down the run, force these teams to throw so Jack Campbell can tip a ball and Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph capitalize on it. But it's just we got to be able to make plays when those balls in the air.
Juan in the chat asks if Houston is done for. I mean, you would expect him to see him at all in this game, especially with Hutch going out. He had 3 penalties and only a handful of snaps in that game against Seattle, and that was already where the coaching staff was looking for him to do something. And he gets in there, he gets those opportunities. 3 flags. They're not going to just let you do that and put you back out there. Not this coaching staff. They hold you accountable, and especially, you know, he hasn't been producing as much as we'd like him to so far this season. So I think that is something that why we didn't see him in this game, but going down without Hutch more than likely for the rest of the season with his tibia break. James Houston's going to have all the snaps in the world, all the opportunity in the world to prove that he still has that 8 sacks in 7 games kind of flair that he got in that first season when he was out there.
Yeah.
And no, he was not active today for my guy Honolulu Blue BS.
Yeah, no, yeah, he was in street clothes.
They opted with Okwaru. Is that how you say that one? Ukwu was the one who got the nod. I think he may have got half a sack. I got to double check on that one, but
he was getting back there. He was putting some pressure on Dak for sure. I saw him a couple times, and you see an edge rusher wearing number 45. You're like, oh, man, they put a fullback out there? Like, what's going on? But he made some plays. He was getting in the backfield.
Yeah.
He going to need to step. We saw it in the preseason with him. He looked really good. A lot of Lions fans wanted to see him on the active roster. Luckily, he was able to clear waivers, and they got him on the practice squad. So he's going to be a guy that you're going to need to step up for sure.
Shout out to Trevor Nowalski, too, out there on the Sam, getting some love.
Yep.
No, all right, you guys want to go ahead?
I want to say this real quick on Houston. I mean, whenever there's an opportunity, you make a decision based on players and schemes that you're going to play. And I know that you don't anticipate you're going to lose somebody like Hutch. So you're going to kind of control the depth chart a little bit differently. But when you're brought in to make certain plays and you're still not being available and you're not being used, and you know that it's all about having availability of guys. You know how important that rush is for the defense, because it is a position that really helps out the secondary. And they are going to put people out and make them active, the ones they think that are going to provide that piece. So I think there are some concerns there, and in terms of have the coach's confidence kind of wane a little bit and gone. I would say probably without them really coming out and saying that.
Spencer, you commenting there?
Yeah. I didn't realize it was from the account. But yeah,
Spencer.
There in the chat, Joseph says, obviously we want Crosby, but is Reddick more of an obtainable via trade? I don't think Reddick is realistic for this coaching staff and what they look for in a player. You know, obviously he's looking to get paid. He's still holding out. He hasn't played for the Jets so far this season. And I think Hendrickson is the one that makes the most sense to me. I mean, he seems like a Dan Campbell kind of guy. Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn were on the coaching staff with him when he was in New Orleans, so they're already familiar with him as a player. Like I said, he played next to DJ Reader already before in his career. The Bengals are fighting for last in the AFC North, so I think that's the guy. I really do. If I had to push all my chips into one top pass rusher that they'd go after, I would push to Hendrickson.
I feel like coaches gravitate toward the guys they have familiarity with too in the past, because it makes it easy to fold in.
Yeah, even if they're a little bit of a knucklehead, like CJGJ they brought in last year as a little bit of experiment because they have experience with him. They know how to manage his highs and his lows, and to get him going. And not that Hendrickson's that, but He also, by the way, just got sacked on Daniel Jones while you were speaking about it. That's kind of crazy timing.
If only we had a young Robert Porcher about now. What do you think of that, Herm?
Oh man, you get, you talk about a guy that was a beast. Robert Porcher, a former first-round draft pick, Pro Bowler. You have to have leaders and men that go out and just basically that can take control. I think there's a persona, there's a type of player that Coach Campbell, Coach Glenn, the defensive side, that they're going to look for. It's not just what we think sometimes is just talent based. I think there's a fit base. There's players that are going to be able to come in and serve roles. One big thing that, and you bring any player into this Dan Campbell system, they have to be is humble. And they're going to have to be able to say, you know what, it's not going to be about my statistics as much as it's going to be about my role. And what is my utility for this team? How do I plug in to making this team better or filling a void? If you're coming in and saying, hey, I got to be a star. I came from a place here where I was having so many catches, so many runs, so many rushes, so many throws, so many whatever, and I'm expecting you to deliver that and make me whole coming here, it's the wrong place. It's not going to work. And that is such a rarity. That does not happen in the NFL. You cannot get players that will go somewhere and say, you know what, I can let myself go for what's going to be best for the team. However, if you look at that piece, it removes the pressure. If I'm a player that's looking to just come in and say, look, I just want to come ball. I just want to come feel like I'm appreciated, that my talents are respected. This is the place. I think players will take less. I think players will do whatever it takes to make those deals happen. I was concerned, can we get quality players to come play here in Detroit? Because it was always, this is where players' careers went to die, right? Or they were going to be mismanaged, misused, and they were never going to really reach their full potential. And we don't have to go down the list, right? You're going to find a lot of names. All the guys that you find are supposed to be the ones that are idolized and the ones that are loved and beloved here. You can poke holes at them and say, here's how it didn't go 100% the way it should have gone. And you can't find a person who says from career start to career finish, this is the way my career, that person was handled properly. But players want to come play in Detroit. They want to come play for Dan Campbell and his coaching staff. And they want to come here because they think Detroit is now on a path of being a consistent winning franchise. 3 years. Come on. This.
All right. Well, while Herman's frozen, I'll say this. I
said some good stuff too. That's terrible.
You said some great stuff. Most of it came through. Most of it did come through. Well, I'll say when it comes to like players, like their careers coming to die, I think it's twofold. Because also when you have the approach either as a coach or as a GM that you're looking for the name and you're not necessarily looking for the fit, and you're just looking to say, I want this player to recreate what he did over here and bring him over here to do the same thing. That isn't effective as opposed to you saying, I'm looking for the player that will fit us. I don't care what the name is. I don't care what they did elsewhere, but I want them to fit us. That changes the approach. And it means somebody's going to come excel because it's a system that fits them rather than you're trying to plug and play somebody that just did something over there and you just want them to recreate it over here.
Yeah, I think if he, I doubt that he's listening, but Mr. Reddick, I would just look at Dave Montgomery, a guy who's kind of unappreciated, underutilized where he was previously, and given an opportunity to shine here. And we paid him before his contract was even up just this past week. So, I mean, I'm with you on that. Like come be appreciated, come earn your paycheck, come prove your worth, because you'll be given every opportunity to do so here in Detroit. I think the biggest example of that for me is just from the beginning, I guess the earliest one, I should say, not the biggest, but when Malcolm came in and started getting starting reps, as a rookie, as a 5th round rookie, it's like, and Calvin Shepard told him on Hard Knocks, like, hey, I don't want to start the rookie, but you guys don't give me any other choice. And he was the one, busting his ass the hardest out there. And I think if you're a guy looking to get paid, you're not happy with your situation, Max Crosby, come on home.
Oh man, that would be so awesome. Him and Dan Campbell would just be a match made in heaven. I feel like I can't get too can't get my hopes up too high because I can't see
know.
it happening.
I'm trying to speak it into existence.
Speaking of Montgomery, though, I want to mention this. Herman, I think it's fascinating because, I get to watch a lot of games, or at least listen while you're watching games. We're in different places, but you really love running backs. Like, you really love hard running backs. You talk about running backs far more than you talk about receivers. Like, I mean, you just do. I want to explain that.
It's a different appreciation. Listen, I was always on the front end having to block. I never got a chance to really see just how they're just beasts, and how if you find running backs that they're not looking to be cute in the hole, and I know that sounds weird, but look,
I was going to make a joke, but I kept it.
I know how you guys are. So I caught it before all of you. Listen, when they're going in, they're not tap dancing, they're not playing around. You guys are too much. Everyone knows this group. I'm telling you, when we're off camera,
T-shirt. That's a T-shirt.
But listen, when they and I started to say when they go into that area, they go harder, they go home. But listen, I won't even go there. Listen, listen what I'm saying. They run with bad intentions. They run to look for contact, and when they find it, it's almost like a game. How many people will it take to tackle me? And I think they're looking at the facial expression. The only guy I used to see that would do that was Corey Schlesinger, and he would take on a linebacker. They would be face to face, and they would first, when Corey would go in and take the block on, they would cringe a little bit. They would think they would bring the pain. And then all of a sudden you start seeing them coming in, turning their shoulder a little bit, and they started doing, it's funny. And I appreciate that. You guys are hilarious. Listen, but David Montgomery runs angry. He runs with purpose. He runs to say, you know what? I'm looking for you. And if you want this, come get it. Right. And it's hilarious. I think I like the way they run, and they go downhill when they run. They get up on the line, and the linebacker's so fast that there is no time to react. It's like they're having to catch them, and they're having to reach for a shoe or reach for a towel or something like that. And then all of a sudden the safeties or the corners are the ones having to come in and be, saviors. I like what I'm saying. They're just beasts.
I said it on the stream today. You got to send 5 to stop 5 because David Montgomery is not going to go down from a single guy or 2 guys or even 3 guys at this point. I feel like you got to send 5 if you want to get 5 on the ground, because he is running, like you said, with anger. And he's already got 2 angry run scepters from Kyle Brandt. I saw Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football talking about he might get another one after this game because the guy got paid. He went out there and showed why he got paid. And he's looking like a top 5 running back in the NFL right now. David Montgomery has been nothing short of amazing for the Detroit Lions.
I think on my fantasy team, which really is, he gets an award just for that. He's on my fantasy team.
That's fair.
Yeah,
they're just gonna.
I have him and Derek Williams.
This show is just crazy.
What was that?
I said, and then Chrissie's like, "Oh, he's on my fantasy team."
I know no one cares. I know no one cares, but I'm still excited about it.
Nah, what I love about that too, just beyond watching them, is the fact that opens up everything up for the run game. That's like just one of the beautiful things about football. It's just such a team sport. Like everything just falls into place. It's like a stack of dominoes. You know what I'm saying? And one just leads the other. Because like next thing you know, as you said, Spinny, you got to send 5 to take down 5. When all those safeties are creeping down, or we're like, hey man, I need help. Come help me over here. Next thing you know, J-Mo's streaking across the field, wide open. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it opens everything up. That's the beautiful thing about a great run game. And if you ever watch one too, like that goes for like long, and you watch all the perfect blocks, guys hitting the holes, like it's a thing of beauty for real.
Herman likes to talk about his blocking.
You have to. It makes you complete. And that was the only way. That was my claim to fame. I'm gonna start getting me a T-shirt because everyone always I wear it every once in a while. It says I played with Barry, right?
Seriously.
You know, or whatever.
Hang out with Herman for a while, and it's like
only thing about that, I never got to watch, and I'll take that up with Barry another day because I'm like, man, I did more blocking than your lineman. So come on, man, don't play games with me. It looked like the secondary also for Dallas got discouraged. Kudos to Jared Goff. kudos to the linemen who were really providing a lot of times just on the offensive side. And the fact that they were in attack mode. And when he was there, he found guys. He was throwing darts, and he was putting it in very catchable places and spots. And ultimately, you could see that the Cowboys defensive backs, they just basically, I won't say quit, because you never want to say that as another player about another player saying they just gave up, they just quit. But it got to a point where you could see the frustration of the defense really wasn't liking what they were seeing from their offensive teammates, and they felt that they were a liability, and they kept putting them back in really bad situations. And then from there, I think they became very much deflated, because they did not see, how do we get out of this? Defense not going to score enough points against the opponent's offense to keep you in the game. This isn't the Baltimore offense from back in the day, or the Chicago Bears in '85. This isn't going to happen. And you could see that every time it just started to deflate them, it started to just pull the air out of them. And I just can't imagine a team being in that kind of disarray at this point, and having that's the opposite end of almost what I'm seeing the spectrum. And tomorrow we'll see what happens there. But good play calling. Coordinators, I think, have really dialed in this team and figured out exactly where they should be. And they're calling plays. Again, if I had to give any crazy grade, to just kind of put like a little bit of circle around something and go, hey, man, will you please stop when you're up by 30 points, putting players that we're going to need down the stretch after we've just gotten out of a bye week and we're not going to have any way to get them back anytime. Please don't put them at risk unless we have to.
I would love to be a coordinator. I would be a coordinator. If I was a player, I would be a DB. In case anyone's wondering.
Tough position.
You said if you were a coordinator, you'd be a defensive back?
No, I said if I would love to be a coordinator, and then semicolon, next statement. And if I was a player, I would be a DB.
Okay. Well, you might as well go around the horn, man.
I have really good ups. I would be defense.
Give me your coaching position, and then give me your position.
Ooh, coaching position.
I'll coach defensive line, and I'll play offensive line if I was a player.
Interesting.
I would do defensive line coach, and then I played defensive tackle, but I always wanted to play linebacker. Because I feel like you see the field a little bit more, shoot those holes with some linemen eating some blocks for you.
I could be like Graham Glasgow out there. I played center, left tackle, left guard, right guard. They moved me around a lot.
I sucked at blocking, but like on a pulling guard, you know what I'm saying? I was knocking snot out of them boys.
I loved playing offensive line because I could hit somebody every play for no reason. Like, they don't have the ball, but I could just go up to them and hit them and put them in the dirt. So that's why I love playing offensive line so much.
Herman, what would you play?
Now anyone who knows me, I don't give you just a straightforward answer. So I think I want to be an assistant coach to the head coach. Like, I'd like what do you call it? Assistant head coach? I want to be the assistant head coach, right? So I can kind of play just kind of around the entire piece. I'm just part of the strategy. I'm part of that piece. And the other one's probably, I don't know, a very, very dependable center or long snapper.
Why?
So I can play like 15 years and just
that's fair.
Paid a couple million every year, long snapper for 15 years.
Listen, I can speak from experience. It does not pay to be leading the NFL for 4 or 5 straight years and think that that's job security. It does not work that way.
I love how you just work that in there.
Listen,
it does not pay to lead.
No, I heard.
Subtle flex.
I just want to listen. I'm telling you, when you go up here, you always are looking down. There's nowhere else to go.
But see, here's the thing, though.
It is what it is. This is not me doing this. This is real life. I'm telling you. The minute it went from 70 catches to 80, it was like, wow, that's great. 80 to 100, whoo. And then 123, wow. And then all of a sudden it was 106. Man, what's going on? 102, 104, man, I don't know. But you lead the league. 80 something, man, I don't know, man. It's just sky's falling. No, I'd rather say, man, that when I hiked it, did it make it back to the punter and make it back to the holder?
See, here's the thing, though. You don't want to be one of those positions that you have to be unseen, because then if you do anything that's screwed up, that's it. Like,
that's all you remember for.
It's like a microscope.
Yeah.
There's always.
I want to be in the middle somewhere.
Listen, in every job, I want you to think about it right now. If you are an engineer and you were having to run a radio station, a TV station, or something like that, and listen, yeah, that's right. Go ahead. Mr. Detroit said, yeah, Randall L. That's right. He's come on, get over here. Let me give you a little love. Listen, the engineer is the one who has to make sure everything's up, that's running. Otherwise, you have no show. If you have an IT person at your business, you don't even have to know their name. You never even know. As long as they make sure, man, you're not getting attacked with viruses. You got cybersecurity protection.
Name.
You know what I'm saying? It's built in, and you could do it forever.
Shout out, Kyle.
But if you're the one,
back in the day.
But if you're the one that's sitting out there going, hey, man, them sales are dropping and you're not bringing a lot of clients, I'm going, well, clients ain't calling me back. Well, you got to find another job. Like I'm telling you. Where
have you gone with this? I'm kind of lost.
Listen, you asked me my position and then you criticized me saying I want to be a long snapper. Or I wanted to be the one to just making sure that I can play 15 years and snap the football to somebody and get paid $5 million to do that. I'm cool with that. That's cool.
I'd do that for sure.
Last time I checked, there is not a place in the world I can't get on a plane or a boat or something, go somewhere, and it's going to cost me more than $5 million. I'm good.
My dream position, I think
I only need $25 million.
The best job in the world is the backup quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. You get paid like $5 to $10 million a year to hold a clipboard. If you get in the game, nobody expects you to do well anyways, so you have no pressure. If you do well, like Matt Flynn, you could get a crazy big contract after one performance and then just be set for the rest of your life. Backup quarterback. Give me $5 million to stand there with a clipboard and high fives.
Even if you don't, there's a section of the fan base that's like, yeah, you know what? That kid needs a chance right there. That guy, let him get the ball.
But that's like the lottery, though, right? It's like, man, you doing scratch offs on. Now all of a sudden they go, come in the game. You go, man, that's not the right one. Like you that might be and throw a couple interceptions because they want you to come in and just do something easy. Yeah. Come on, man. I don't know.
Tim Boyle's still in the league. Like if Tim Boyle could still be bouncing around the league, then I think I could hold a quarter or hold a.
You have to prepare the starter too. Like you're not just doing nothing.
I know they're doing like I've seen the long snappers, man. They're just sitting there. They're just playing, talking to people. They're walking around and not really do. They don't have to understand plays. They just have to understand like the cadence. They like there's not. They
have to block. They have to block.
It's funny too because like the long snapper.
No, they have to be in the way.
Pictures of Don Muehlbach blocking.
He had to be in the way. That's it. I guarantee you, he didn't have to move more than 6 inches one way or another, forward, back, right, left.
We should get Muehlbach on the show.
Get him on here.
Well,
I guarantee he looks probably
Muehlbach
healthy.
was one of my favorite co-conspirators when I was with the team when I had to go get players from the locker room because of course I was not going to the locker room. So he would go fishing for us and he'd come out and he'd be like, Chrissie, who do you need? And the best part was because if you know Herman, you got different sides of the ball and stuff. They don't always know each other, So he'd come out and he'd say, who do you need? And I'd be like, oh, I need so-and-so. And he'd be like, right. Who's that? It's number 55, Muehlbach.
He's your 7-figure player finder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really helpful.
I was laughing because Herman's watching that guy on the bench. He's probably wishing like, man, I wish I was Herman more. And the whole time,
I'd be like, look, man, anybody thirsty? Anybody need Gatorade? Somebody need water? Towel?
Who was your long snapper, Herman?
I don't even know.
I
think Brad. His name was Brad. I know. No, I think his name was Brad or something like that.
Oh, Bradford Banta? Was it Bradford Banta?
Yeah, that's who it was.
Shout out Brad.
Bradford Banta. Bradford.
Yeah.
He was still there in the Mariucci era.
Herman, I did want to ask you about this before we wrap this up and before we get too deep into the long snapper depth chart. Tim Patrick went out there and he made some plays. Tim Patrick, he had a big catch to start, in the first quarter to start that first scoring drive down the sidelines over Amani Oruwariye. He made another, nice catch down the field. Jared Goff put the ball up there for him. What does it mean to have that kind of guy in this offense, a 6'4", long, physical receiver out there making plays?
Keeps defense honest. When you can have a big body wide receiver and someone that can create physical matchups and you can just throw the ball up every once in a while. If you look at how he was blanketed, he was covered. And I mentioned that before. Certain players, no matter how good they are, some just can't do it because of physical, stature and everything like that. But when you can have that, the defensive back panicked. And he was in position, but he lost position because he was too concerned about the player himself. That's what you want. And then when you can also start to have that other threat that can get over and beyond the linebackers, that you can just put the ball up a little bit higher. You can see that player as a quarterback. There's confidence in that. And then if you come through and you deliver, that's even a bigger factor. So now you're establishing and you're developing more threats. You're establishing and you're developing more weapons for teams to be concerned with. And the fact that was such an impact play early in the game didn't mean it came when the game was out of reach for anyone. No, this came in the heart of the game, and it became a big play that kind of opened things up a little bit and put them on alert that, hey, we got some bigger guys that can run and also get there. And I know a lot of people have been asking, when they were going to be able to get them the ball and when they were going to be taking some shots down the field. And that was the first time I truly saw them drop back on rhythm and just toss one. Right? They weren't waiting for someone to get open and then have to come off of a certain play. It was like, look, we're going downfield.
Yeah, that was like a 7-step drop from Goff, and then he just launched it down there and should have been a pass interference. I saw somebody say that in the chat. Rob Shadows, the first one should have been a PI on the defense, but he caught it, so no big deal. It was no doubt should that have been a pass interference. When I saw the ref was standing right there too, I was like, "Oh, Dallas!"
But we was in Dallas. I'll have to admit, I'm getting a little suspect, man, about Dallas because I'm sitting there going, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they might want to look into this a little bit deeper, man. Because the calls are
People
getting a little bit shadier and shadier as it comes.
Dean Blandino's going to Jerry Jones' birthday party tonight. Like those guys are just peas in a pod, man. It makes me sick.
It's a thing.
Yeah, they really have to start possibly looking at penalties and stuff like that, being able to challenge those because some of these are just kind of ridiculous.
Especially when you get into the playoffs and there's just some convenient no calls or calls.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
Like imagine if we could have challenged the Dez helmet. Imagine if the Saints could have challenged that hit.
Yeah.
That stopped them from going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Jared Goff would have been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's crazy.
All right, who's closing this out?
I could close it out. I started it. I can close it out here. Appreciate you all for joining us. Make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to all the channels. Lions Nation Unite. Herman Moore, Easy, Chrissie. I'm Spencer. Coming off of the Lions thrashing of the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. Again, Aiden Hutchinson, prayers up to 97. Hopefully he is good to go. He was rushed right to the hospital, had surgery on a broken tibia. But unfortunately, the chain moves on. Detroit Lions in Minnesota next week to face the undefeated Minnesota Vikings coming off of a bye. Going to be a tough matchup. If they bring that same energy they had today, should be no problem. Appreciate you all for watching. Smash that like button. We'll see you soon. Lions Nation Unite. We're out.